Investing is the last thing you need to think about. I get it, it's hard. You want that quick fix of money. You want to drive the nice car. You want the good life. The sad truth is, it's not easy. And if you're somebody who has a limited income, no emergency fund, and a lack of understanding as to how the world works, ultimately, you're probably just going to be a mark for a scammer who's going to take your hard-earned money and live a lovely life in Dubai off your back. The majority of people giving you advice want something, and a lot of them on the internet want to scam you. Now, I used to play this game called RuneScape, and back in the day there was this famous scam where people would try and double your money. But whenever they wanted to double your money, they'd pose as a rich character with a high level, and they'll be like, if you give me 10,000 gold pieces, I'll give you 20,000 in return. And a lot of people trusted them because of the position of authority they put themselves in based off their wealth. Why would somebody who has so much want to scam me? Sadly, these guys were scammers, and it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. And in real life, you can also still be scammed, but the difference is they're not going to walk around with a high level character. They're going to walk around with a G-Wagon, a Louis Vuitton bag, and a Lamborghini, and maybe a model on the side to try and add to their air of superiority. The sad truth is, just because somebody acts wealthy, looks wealthy, doesn't mean they're trying to help you or they've unlocked some secret. They might have generational wealth, their dad might be rich, their mum might be rich, they might just have rented a lot of that stuff just to scam people. It might actually be a business model they're running. Based on all of this, my friend, you need to realize that the world is a forest and there's a big bad wolf, and the big bad wolf is usually a big bad Forex bro. And you can turn around and say, "Oh, Forex bro, what a lovely Lamborghini you have," and he'll turn around and say, "All the better to trick you with, my dear." So once you put your trust into the wrong people, your fate is sealed. Like parasites, these consultants and advisors will feed off the never-ending supply of stupid, broke, young people. And unfortunately, the way the economy is going, there is going to be an even greater supply, and therefore a greater chance that you'll be a victim. So how do you find good advice? Good advice is not usually a secret. Good advice comes from the most boring people in the most boring way, and that's the problem. The good advice is hard work over a long period of time, leading to a relatively modest payoff. And if you get a bit of luck, maybe you get a slightly better payoff. The fact of the matter is, having a Lamborghini is a very lofty goal. Most people don't have a house that costs as much as a Lamborghini. So having a vehicle that costs that much, to put into perspective, you need at least £10,000 of monthly income to possibly be in the ballpark for getting a lease on a car like that. So don't believe every next person who says, "I can make you money tomorrow, I got these methods, bro," because chances are, if they're trying to sell you something, they're going to do it in a way that makes it seem like they're doing you a favor. But ultimately, nobody who's actually making money has time to sit around and teach their secrets. My friends, I've spent 3 years in financial services. It is a heavily regulated industry. Right now I work in banking, which is another heavily regulated industry. There's companies and commissions and organizations making sure that these industries are held accountable. There's the SEC, the FCA. These are all government departments designed to protect you from your own stupidity. Investing in financial advice is probably a scam if it's coming from Instagram. There's something I've learned while working in the financial services, and that is called professional skepticism, which means you don't believe a word people tell you. You go by the evidence, you go by the facts. And the facts are, if these people were so successful, they wouldn't want to coach you. They wouldn't want to help you make money. They'd be too busy spending it all in Dubai, driving fast cars and popping bottles and all of that stuff that goes on. They aren't geniuses. The geniuses are people busy working 15-hour days at Goldman Sachs and eventually lobbying to make sure that the poor people pay more taxes. There is no loophole. There is just the reality, and the reality is the secrets just don't exist. And if they did, everybody would know about them, and then they'll be made illegal. So my friends, we've addressed the scammers now. Now there's a different subset of gurus who'll give you advice around their own experiences. And these gurus are usually a bit out of touch. They've lived a great life. They've had no student debt. They've had great jobs. And more importantly than their jobs and their income, their living costs have been next to nothing relative to us. They've lived through some of the greatest housing capital appreciation growths in history. And they're going to tell you about putting your money in savings accounts and passive income. And if you invest this much, you're going to get this much dividends and this, that, and the other. The issue is, you're broke.
You're broke! You're fucking poor!
Investing with a small amount of capital will not allow you to live sustainably purely off passive income. You barely have an active income, let alone worrying about a passive income. Furthermore, there's been recent changes to how taxes work as well, which make this even less lucrative than it was for these guys. If you make £30,000 a year, for example, you will not retire from investments. £30,000 a year is a pretty respectable salary for someone under the age of 30. In fact, I'd say it's above average. £30,000 a year is £2,000 take home. The average rent in the UK is already over £1,000. £1,000. But let's say that's your living cost, £1,000 flat, whatever. Now, you invest 20% of your disposable income. That means you invest £200 a month. So there's £200 a month you invest from the age of 25 to the age of 55. And you want to see how much your investment is worth at that point. Now, your investment after 30 years of consistent investment has now grown to £310,000 approximately. You've gained about £240,000 in free money, aka interest. The problem is there's a magic word people are all forgetting about here, and that word is inflation. That £310,000 has about the same purchasing power as £160,000 today. Now, I've worked that out based on the current rate of inflation and the historical rate of inflation, so that's a 2.2% average. I've extrapolated that going forwards. The figures are probably worse. Inflation has actually been increasing recently, and it probably will continue to increase for a while. So in my opinion, you really shouldn't worry about investing until you have something to invest. If you're making £30,000 a year, your energies will be better served devoting yourself to improving your career, upskilling yourself, gaining more traction in your workplace, and actually improving your actual pay before you'd gain benefits from investing what you have. I'm not saying go spend your money on ridiculous things. Save it, invest it if you can, but don't rely on investment as a golden ticket out of poverty. In reality, that's not going to be the case. If anything, it's going to be a tool to help you in your overall path. In reality, you should be building your earning potential, and that in turn will be the most efficient strategy for you to undertake. You can easily go from a £30,000 a year salary to a £60,000 a year salary. It's much more reasonable to do that than expect to scrimp and save and try and get your £30,000 salary to get you to a good place in retirement. Realistically, it won't. And the way inflation is going, it definitely won't. And even if you're a very frugal person, frugality will only get you so far. Ultimately, you want your skills to be more valuable in the real world. And that is what's going to give you an increased payout from the real world.